Welcome to Accotink Unitarian Universalist Church, our live stream worship service. I am John Long, and my pronouns are he, him, his. Accotink UU Church is a welcoming and inclusive community that seeks to create a more just and compassionate world through our actions to bring about justice and by honoring the web of nature of which we all are a part. All are welcome here, no matter whom you love, no matter your identity or heritage, no matter your beliefs or background, no matter your means or abilities, you are welcome here in this religious community. All are also welcome to share in a time for conversation and connection after worship. Simply stay in this Zoom meeting after worship to join.
If you're new to Accotink and would like to talk more about this church, please be sure to reach out to me, our minister, Reverend Pippin, or a member of the board. Contact information is posted on our website at www.accotinkuu.org. On our website, you can check the online order of service in the worship section of our webpage. While you're on the website, be sure to check our events page for upcoming virtual gatherings and other news. I now invite you to close your other windows or apps and devices, take a deep breath, and center yourself for worship. In our time of grief, we light a flame of sharing, the flame of ongoing life. In this time when we search for understanding and serenity in the face of loss, we light this sign of our quest for truth, meaning, and community.
On December 1st, we commemorate World AIDS Day. Today, in the midst of another pandemic, we gather together to face this adversity through the act of giving thanks. It is together that we can find the strength to face the darkness of the next few months and look forward to the return of the light.
Hi, my name is Allie Mills. Today I wanted to share a story with you about overcoming adversity. I came across many different retellings of this story, but I put together my own version to share with you today. So let's take a look. This story is called Which One Are You? Potato, Egg, or Coffee? Once upon a time, a daughter explained to her father that she was unhappy and she didn't know how she was going to make it. She was tired of fighting and struggling all of the time. It seemed just as one problem was solved, another one soon followed. Her father took her to the kitchen. He took out some potatoes, eggs, and coffee beans. He filled 3 pots with water and placed each on a high fire. Once the 3 pots began to boil, he placed the potatoes in one pot, eggs in the second pot, and ground coffee beans in the third pot. He let them sit and boil without saying a word to his daughter. The daughter moaned and impatiently waited, wondering what he was doing. After 20 minutes, he turned off the burners. He took the potatoes out of the pot and placed them in a bowl. He pulled the eggs out and placed them in a bowl. He then ladled the coffee out and placed it in a cup. Turning to her, he asked, "Daughter, what do you see?" "Potatoes, eggs, and coffee," she hastily replied. "Look closer and touch the potatoes," he said. She did and noted that they were soft. "Now take an egg and break it," said her father. After pulling off the shell, she observed the hard-boiled egg. Finally, he asked her to smell the coffee. Its rich aroma brought a smile to her face. "Father, what does this mean?" she asked. He then explained that the potatoes, the eggs, and the coffee beans had each faced the same adversity, the boiling water. However, each one reacted differently. The potatoes went in strong, hard, and unrelenting, but in the boiling water, they became soft and weak. The eggs were fragile, with the thin outer shell protecting its liquid interior until it was put in the boiling water. Then, the inside of the eggs became hard. But the ground coffee beans were unique. After they were exposed to the boiling water, they changed the water and created something new. "Which are you?" he asked his daughter. "When adversity knocks on your door, how do you respond?" In life, things happen around us, things happen to us, but the only thing that truly matters is how you choose to react to it and what you choose to make out of it. Life is about learning, adopting, and converting all the struggles that we experience into something positive. So I ask you to consider this. Which one are you? The potato, the egg, or the coffee bean?
The following is a poem by Susan Cooper. Normally, it is reserved for the actual winter solstice, but the metaphor of going through the darkness and waiting for the light seemed appropriate for today. The shortest day. And so the shortest day came, and the year died. And everywhere down the centuries of the snow-white world came people singing, dancing to drive the dark away. They lighted candles in the winter trees. They hung their homes with evergreen. They burned besieging fires all night long to keep the year alive. And when the New Year's sunshine blazed awake, they shouted, reveling. Through all the frosty ages, you can hear them echoing behind us. Listen. All the long echoes sing the same delight this shortest day. As promise wakens in the sleeping land, they carol, feast, give thanks, and dearly love their friends and hope for peace. And so do we, here and now. Blessed be.
And now we have a responsive reading, We Give Thanks This Day by Eugene Pickett. Please respond by reading the bolded print. For the expanding grandeur of creation, worlds known and unknown, galaxies beyond galaxies, filling us with awe and challenging our imagination.
We give thanks this day.
For this fragile planet Earth, its times and tides, its sunsets and seasons.
We give thanks this day.
For the joy of human life, its wonders and surprises, its hopes and achievements.
We give thanks this day.
For our human community, our common past and future hope, our oneness transcending all separation, our capacity to work for peace and justice in the midst of hostility and oppression.
We give thanks this day.
For high hopes and noble causes, for faith without fanaticism, for understanding of views not shared.
We give thanks this day.
For all who have labored and suffered for a fairer world, who have lived so that others might live in dignity and freedom.
We give thanks this day.
For human liberty and sacred rights, for opportunities to change and grow, to affirm and choose.
We give thanks this day. We pray that we may live not by our fears, but by our hopes, not by our words, but by our deeds.
I hope that each of you had a great Thanksgiving, even if it might have been a little bit different from other years. Traditionally, Thanksgiving is a time of appreciation for past bounties. But what does it mean to celebrate it during hard times? Can we be thankful in the face of a pandemic that has taken more than 260,000 lives in the US and 1.5 million worldwide? One way is to remember all the universal blessings that we have in any season, as we do today in today's hymns and in our readings. But we can go beyond that to remember the special silver linings that our response to COVID has revealed. In our family, we have a special Thanksgiving tradition. This is the talking stick. It's held by the Maasai chieftains, and during Maasai councils, the chief passes the stick from person to person. When each person gets the stick, they have the complete attention of the tribe, and only they are allowed to talk. At our Thanksgiving dinner, we pass this stick around so that everyone, from the oldest to the youngest, can have their individual say about what they're thankful for. Our past Thanksgivings have had more than a dozen people. Anne-Marie and me, our son and daughter, their spouses, our 4 grandchildren, our Bulgarian immigrant friends and their children, our close older friend from Chile, and often 2 or 3 more. But this year, we could only get together with our daughter's family in Bethesda, who had been isolating specifically for this occasion. We did Zoom with our son's family in Connecticut and text the other friends we would normally see. But even with this reduced Thanksgiving, the talking stick brought out many expressions of thanks for the food we were eating, for the providers and delivery workers who brought it to our door, for our next door neighbors, who is an ICU nurse, for the internet that gives us the ability to talk to our family and friends at a distance. I would have liked to hand each of you this talking stick so you too could share the things you're thankful for. But since we're physically distanced, I invite you instead to share virtually by entering your thanks in the chat box. As our time for ages stories shared, each of us have different ways of facing adversity. So I hope you can share your silver linings with us. As you share your thoughts, I'd like to share my own remembrances of the first few weeks of the outbreak in March. Anne-Marie's 85-year-old sister was visiting with us from Chile and was planning to stay until the end of the month. But as COVID became more and more acute, the airlines were canceling all the flights to Chile by mid-March, and we rushed to transfer her ticket to an earlier flight. We were finally able to get her through, make the exchange, and on March 15th, we took her to the airport to catch the last flight out with a lot of trepidation. But she made it back home safely. That trip to the airport was our last trip to a public place. We decided that given our age, we should observe a complete isolation. We ordered grocery delivery from Giant, although the first time the earliest delivery was 2 weeks away, and I remember the relief when the groceries finally arrived. We were low on peanut butter already. We did continue to walk into our neighborhood. When the recommendation to wear masks arrived, we couldn't find any. But the mask makers in the AUC community came to our rescue. And if I remember, Sheila was the one who delivered several to our door. So we continue on our walks while properly masked. Our concerts and baseball games and dining arrangements, those were all canceled. But we soon found that physical distancing did not necessarily mean social isolation. If anything, our social contacts over the internet were even more extensive than they had been in person. We reconnected with friends and family that we hadn't talked with in years. We'd had a lot of plans to travel and celebrate in 2020. There was my 75th birthday and our 50th anniversary, and a planned trip to Chile at the end of this year to see the solar eclipse and to celebrate Christmas with Anne-Marie's family. Everything would have to be changed. But even though we had to cancel our travel plans for the 50th anniversary, our children organized a Zoom celebration with family and friends. We had participants from 5 countries and a dozen states, some of which we hadn't seen for almost 50 years. It was a wonderful celebration. We are very fortunate since we have good pensions and no longer have the obligations for daily work. And with parcel and food deliveries, we don't have to leave the house except for those daily walks. We're concerned with those who are less fortunate, those who struggle to find work, those whose daily work precludes social distancing, those with living conditions that don't provide the space to social distance, those who don't have the resources to obtain food or other necessities, and those who don't have access to the internet. While we try to provide relief to several individuals that we know in these circumstances, and to give to food banks and other charities, we know that it's not enough. Now, for me, one of the major aspects of the disruptions caused by the COVID pandemic was the opportunity to differentiate between what was vital and essential in our lives compared to what was just the usual and the customary, what was our daily routine. And as part of that process, I read The Plague by Alexander Camus. This novel describes an outbreak of the bubonic plague in a city in Algeria in the 1940s. As the number of cases mount and the city is quarantined from the rest of the world, a strange thing happened. The residents slowly transform from a group of individuals following their own selfish concerns to a community that recognizes its shared destiny. The heroes in the story are the healers, either professionals or volunteers, who provide aid to the sick and the isolated. In fact, the growth of community seems to be one of the silver linings today, as people the world over face similar adversity. Not only do we strengthen ties with family and friends, but even our regular activities, book clubs, poetry club, exercise class, and our AUC services become more rewarding as we share our thoughts with others online. Small indications of the shared community are found every day. They include the heartfelt "stay safe" ending to an otherwise conventional business call, or the fellow residents in our neighborhood who now regularly wave from the other side of the street on our daily walks. These thoughts have necessarily been particular to my own individual circumstances, so I thank you for broadening them with your own examples of giving during the pandemic. We've each found our own ways to survive and even thrive during the last 8 months. But now we're entering yet another dark period. The number of COVID cases are increasing dramatically as we're forced inside by cold weather. The short days and the long nights of winter make outdoor activities harder and can lead to depression. How can we face the next few months? We can learn. We can learn from the winter solstice celebrations that Nancy Melita read about today. The acceptance of the shortest day in the year, not as being so dark, but as a prelude to a year of light and renovation. We have much the same story now with increased COVID cases. For one thing, we now know better how to deal with them than we did back in March, both medically and practically. New procedures have cut the death rate. Our medical personnel still need our support as they face the tremendous emotional and physical toll of dealing with so many cases. But we are thankful for the promise of readily available, effective vaccines by springs. The days will get longer, the crocuses will bloom, and we do indeed see the light at the end of the tunnel. So let us be thankful in this time of COVID for many things. For the healers, the medical personnel who risk their lives to aid those suffering from COVID. For the essential workers who bring us food and package delivery. For the technology that provides the internet that allows us to make social connections despite these physical distances. For the science that broke all records in developing vaccines and bringing them to the public. And most of all, for community, for the connections and support of family, friends, neighbors, and associates who share their concerns and care for us. For all this, we do give thanks. Though we extinguish our childish flame, we carry with us what we kindled. The light of inspiration, the warmth of compassion, the fire of commitment. When we bring these gifts into our lives and share them radiantly out in the world.
I invite you now to join with me in our community blessing with these words of David Bumbaugh. This church is dedicated to the proposition that behind all our differences and beneath all our diversity, there is a unity that makes us one and binds us forever together in spite of time, death, and the space between the stars. We pause now in silent witness to that unity.
Now, as we go forward to face the last months of the pandemic, let us carry with us those thoughts of thankfulness and the support of our community. I thank you all for the sharing that you've done in the chat box, and I invite you to stay for coffee hour to continue this sharing of thanks as we support each other